We're in the suburb of Okar in northern Beirut. Now, the American embassy is up the hill. You can't even see it from this area. There's a gate that controls access to that area, and there's concertina wire in front of it. Now, earlier this morning, some of the more hot-headed youths among this crowd of demonstrators started to throw water bottles and rocks and sticks. Some in the crowd tried to stop them, saying this has to be a non-violent demonstration, but things got a little out of hand, and the Lebanese security forces responded with tear gas. And there's still sort of a haze of tear gas in the area, that sort of roundabout which leads up to the American embassy. Now, the people taking part in the demonstration today, it's a combination of Palestinian groups, Islamic groups, as well as leftist organizations. And at the moment, you can see, we just saw a volley of tear gas being fired into one of those buildings. And it's sort of, they're trying to disperse the crowd, but at the moment it doesn't seem like people are running away, despite the fact that tear gas in that area is pretty thick. Now, we spoke to many of the participants in this demonstration, and yes, they are condemning President Trump's decision to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. They're also angry at what is seen as the impotence of Arab leaders when it comes to responding to that. Here, let's go a little closer to that decision. Now, the Arab League did have an emergency meeting last night in Cairo, basically taking that opportunity to condemn President Trump's decision. But beyond that, very little in the way of concrete action, the kind of concrete action many people here would like to see Arab leaders and Muslim leaders to take. Natalie?
Especially since the U.S. is kind of stepping back diplomatically. Vice President Pence headed to the region, but Mahmoud Abbas saying he will not meet with him. I want to talk with you, though, about that embassy there. Some of the embassies in the region haven't been staffed by the current administration. What do we know about the embassy there, and who's protecting it?
Well, here's somebody who seems to have been affected by that tear gas. Now, I did a count recently. Out of the countries of the Arab world, 9 of those embassies, American embassies, do not have ambassadors. However, there is an ambassador here in Lebanon. Regarding protection provided to the embassy, it's by Lebanese security forces. There are riot police there. I don't think there's any danger that anybody's going to break through the perimeter to the embassy. And of course, as is the case in all American embassies, here's another person affected by that tear gas. In the case of all American embassies, there's also a Marine Guard there. So it really, I don't think the security of the embassy is under threat at this moment, although embassy personnel have been told to cancel all movements for the day. But the fact of the matter is, even under normal conditions, the staff of the U.S. Embassy is very restricted in their movements. Natalie?
Yeah, and Ben, as you stand out there in the street and watch this, you've covered the Middle East for decades now. How do you see this issue playing out? As you said, many people in the region are upset that the leaders in the region aren't stepping up more. Certainly the U.S. really has not engaged diplomatically after the U.S. president just issued this statement unilaterally.
Well, you know, this is a very touchy moment in the Middle East. This issue was created by President Trump, essentially out of the blue, and it does appear, at least temporarily, to have refocused the Arab and Muslim world on an issue that it hasn't really focused on much in the last few years. You've had, you know, the Arab Spring, you've had wars in Syria, Iraq, Yemen, Libya, which is really sort of the Palestinian issue in terms of the focus of the region, in terms of, for instance, the media, hasn't really been the focus of much attention. Suddenly, it's all on it. And what we're seeing seen is that there are calls from people like in this demonstration. They want to see their leaders take concrete action to respond to this decision, which has been universally condemned in the Arab and Muslim worlds, although there is a suspicion and there are indications that perhaps certain Arab leaders, excuse me, that tear gas does get to my throat as well, certain Arab leaders have perhaps said one thing in public and said another to the U.S. administration in private. But, I mean, what I'm seeing here in Lebanon is a real sort of anger at the inability of Arab leaders really to have an impact or any sort of influence on the decisions of the U.S. administration. We saw the day before President Trump made his decision that he spoke to 4 Arab leaders, the King of Saudi Arabia, the King of Jordan, the President of Egypt, the President of the Palestinian Authority, all of whom told him, don't take this decision. He took it anyway, and their impotence, in a sense, is very plain to see from people like the ones behind me.